is what we might call the Afropolitan writers. The Afropolitan writers, right? And let's define Afropolitanism real quick. And I've put up a couple quotes here. If you humor me. This one is one that I can't remember where I found this, but it captures the essence. Afropolitanism is a conceptual space in which African heritage realities are both interrogated and understood with the tools and nuances of modern day globalization. Right. Here's another definition from a lady named Sarah Balakrishnan. She actually runs a website dedicated to Afropolitan phenomena. And when I'm done with this, I'll give some examples so you see what I'm talking about. Afropolitanism refers to a way of being African in the world, of being African, African, and cosmopolitan, and observing African cultures themselves as hybridities formed from many different influences and roots. Right. So what are we saying? What is it that we're actually saying here? Well, the Afropolitan word says this. Traditionally, back in the past, Africa was just this inferior place with which we either don't engage, erasure, or we exoticize, right? Oh, it's the cannibal pygmies of the jungle and all these things. And that sounds very antiquated, but even in very recent histories, right? When you look at the ways in which when you read books like The Heart of Darkness, or when you watch movies like The Gods Must Be Crazy, you may find those hilarious, and a lot of us do as well. But there is a primitiveness to, or a savagery to the ways in which we want to understand Africa. Even when we look at it at its best, African music back in the day, we're still looking at it as, oh my God, they do this, thing with a bongo drum, and it's almost celebrated as a novelty, right? Now, oh, by the way, if I'm sweating like a pig, it's just really hot. It's not because you know, it ain't because I've put on too much Vaseline on my face or not. So so there's been a shift away from that, particularly in the 21st century, which is why you can we'll get back to the literature real quick, but which is why when you watch movies like Black Panther, right? And you're looking at the representation, think about how that departs from ways that Africans have been depicted in movies in the past and out of Africa in The Ghost and the Darkness, even in recently as The Last King of Scotland, whatever. We can talk about this all day. But here to center this story as having African heroes and African sophistication and nuances where sadness and happiness and not just some barbaric, I'll include, so many things I have to include. I'll include a short article, satire piece by Binyavanga Wainaina, may he rest in peace, called How to Write About Africa. Some of you guys will be familiar with it, in which he talks about these tropes to look for, but these are changing. So you see that. Or when you have someone like Trevor Noah hosting The Daily Show, who is there, and him being African is not an entire shtick where it's kind of like he's, hamming it up like Kamala from the WWE back in the day. Or he's also not being totally dismissive of his being African. That's very much a part of his. Think about music with people like Burna Boy, or the way Afro beats is infiltrating this place now. It's no longer just either erased or ideas are stolen or exotified in ways that they don't belong with the rest of music. Now it's really African music, or Afro beats and its infusions is now global pop music, right? Again, Trevor Noah being on that show I spoke about, when you have people like Giannis, who's Nigerian, but is Greek and is now American and is one of the best basketball players in the world, right? And not, no parts of that identity are being torn away. So this is what that is. So when you look at these books here, Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, famous for her Danger of a Single Story video. We Need New Names, award-winning, book here, finalist for the Man Booker Prize by No Violet Bulawayo, Zimbabwean writer, who the book is actually in two parts, them growing up in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe, then moving to Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, like Michigan, Kalamazoo. Trevor Noah again. This is a autobiography, but it still tells a story, right? And how he navigates those worlds. Homegoing actually does something interesting because it doesn't tell a contemporary story at all. Well, it tells a story going back into being enslaved, right, from Ghana with the Fante and Asante communities encountering the British for the first time. But it lives in both worlds, right? It takes us through, right, how the generations survived during the or navigate slavery while the other people who were left behind also navigating it all the way to the modern era. Brilliantly done. Then of course the leak. I was telling you about that. I'm not shaming my game, but the leak is my latest book. Again, very short, 100 pages or so, big print. But it tells the story. Again, there's that negotiation of a guy who's struggling, the titular character who is struggling in Zimbabwe and is visited by his cousin who now lives in the US with an opportunity to move to the US. So yeah, this Afropolitan tradition runs deep. I could go even further. Let me see. Do I have other books that are within that tradition? We can look at y'all might know this one. This is Tommy Adeyemi's New York bestseller, actually, Children of Blood and Bone, sort of dabbling into that Afrofuturist tradition again, which is not counter to being Afropolitan. It could be both, right? Afropolitan and Afrofuturist, they're not measured on the same scale, as it were. So you have books like that. You have what other stuff do I have here that's within this space? Uh, I'll show at least one more here. But yeah, um, we've not. No, that's not it. Anyway, Uh, oh yeah, so long. Do I have so long a letter somewhere here? But anyway, right. So you have books like So Long a Letter and Love Noir. That's actually what I was looking for. I can't seem to find it amidst the mess I've made here. But in any case, oh yeah, there it is. It's right here. The Love Noir, right? Which navigates France, West Africa. I think it's Mali, and oh no, it's Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, and the US. Yeah. So again, we're very exciting times being in this moment in African history, and just being able to ride within that tradition.